All right, our entity is good, so now let's go back to our app. So we go to Apps, and then we have the Contoso Electronics Travel app. We can click on that guy, and we're going to say Edit our app. That launches the App Designer over in a new browser tab. And so if we kind of scroll a little bit sideways here, my resolution wasn't big enough, we can see that we have business process flows over here. And so just like with the other ones, we're going to click on it. And so here you can see all the different business process flows that are already been provisioned in our environment, so different assets that came with the common data model and such. And so what we want to do, though, is we're going to create a new business process flow. So click on Create New. And so here we want to give it a name, and we'll call it Customer Billing, like so. And then we need to say what entity do we want to tie that to. So go down here to the bottom, and we're going to choose Travel Tracker. Now keep in mind, if you don't see your entity listed over here, that's because you skipped the previous video where I showed you how to make sure it showed up. So until you do the step where you say Enable Business Processes for the entity, it's not going to show up in this drop down here. So I want to make sure that we're on the same page there, a very common thing we get questions about. So that looks good to me, so we'll click on OK. And then we're brought into a very familiar designer experience again, right? Because this is the same experience that we used previously to build some different the conditional pieces. So we're going to go through almost the same type of skills. It's a little bit different, so we'll talk about the different components as we go, though. So in our business process flow, we're going to start, we have stages. And so it gives us a default stage. And so I'm going to click on the stage, and it turns out that new stage is not a good name for a stage. So we're going to call this is billable. So we'll make it like that. And then we'll scroll down, and we need to hit apply. So as you're building this, one of the common issues people run into is you need to kind of go through the process and make sure you're always hitting apply after you customize every piece here. All right. So now we'll click on details. And then you can see they also went ahead and put in a data step. So this is where you collect data in the process. And so what we're going to do is we're going to collect the data from the different entities that we had configured way back in the CDS module, because we kind of knew ahead of time we were coming here. But don't feel bad. If you don't have the right data here, no problem. You know how to, you can save what you've done so far, and then jump back over to CDS, add the additional fields into your entity, and then you'll be able to have those surface here so you can collect the data. Hopefully if I did a good job, though, we've got all those pieces here. So I'm going to click on the data step, and step name is new step. We're going to say billable, like with a question mark. And then the data field, we are then choosing the field from our entity, and there's billable. And then we're going to say, yes, that's required, and click apply. So then that takes care of our first entity, or our first stage. Then now what we want to do is we want to add a component. And so we're going to go over here to components, and we're going to click on condition, and we're going to drag it out here. And you can see the little plus appeared on the screen, so that's telling me this is a place that you can drag this condition. So I'm going to drop the condition there. And what we're going to do is we're going to say check billable, right? We want to see if this is if they selected billable in the previous step or not. So check billable. We will not put a question mark there. And then look at this. It's so smart. It's like, hey, what field do you want to check? Well, I want to check the billable field. Is it equal? Yep. Value? Yep. And then yes. So once again, the model-driven app kind of knew what I wanted to do. It fed me the stuff. I really just clicked one box, and we were cooking. Awesome. So we'll say apply. So then now our stage has two pieces. Let's click on components again. Let's add another stage. And the display name here is going to be who is the customer. Right? If we're going to bill a customer, you know what customer to bill. So we'll apply that. And then down here below, we'll say, for our step, we're going to say customer. And then what field do we want to use? And look at that, we have one customer to bill. And remember, this is one of our lookup fields. So this is actually pulling from a different entity, the contacts entity. So pretty neat to kind of see the multiple pieces being connected together. We'll make that required, and we'll apply that. All right, we're almost done. Let's make one more stage. So now we know it's billable. We know who the customer is. And so then we know that that would have kicked off the process for someone to go and bill the customer. And so then now to close the loop, we want to make sure that the invoice has gotten sent. So I'm going to click on components again. I'm going to grab stage. I'm going to drop that right here. And so we'll call this the invoicing stage. So just like so, invoicing, we'll do apply. And then we have our first data step. And so then the step name here is going to be invoice sent. And then we will have a column for that in here, invoice sent. Looks good. We'll make that required. We'll say apply. And then one of the things we need to make sure we understand is we can definitely have multiple steps. So just grab a data step, drag it over here. Notice the little plus that appeared. We're going to drop that in. And so then data step 2, what are we going to call this one? We're going to say when sent. Very, very proper grammar right there. We'll scroll down here. We'll say apply. And then in that particular one, what field do we want to get? We want to get the invoice sent date and required. We'll say apply. And that is all set up. Now notice as we were going through this that we didn't have to define that the invoice sent was a date field. We didn't have to say we want to add a date control. We didn't have to configure any of that. The model-driven apps, they looked at the data set and they said, oh, the field type for that is set to a date, and so they're going to automatically put a date control. Invoice sent is a yes-no, so they're automatically going to put in a yes-no date or control for us. It's really a nice feature here. We don't have to worry about all the components and wiring everything together. We just need to select our data, and then model-driven apps are going to take care of all of that for us. But this all looks good, so now that we've got this done, we've got our set up, we're going to say save. And then just to be safe, we're going to click on validate, and it's going to make sure that everything makes sense in there. It does. All right, finally we'll activate it. Yes, we want to activate it. All right, and then it reloaded there, so we'll just click on the update to make sure that it's all happy, get it all saved. Perfect. All right, we can close out of here. And then over on our sitemap here, we're going to say, where is our customer billing? There it is. So now we just have the one business process flow associated. We'll say save. And then we'll say publish. And just like that, we've added a business process flow. So we'll stop here. In the next video, we'll go do a quick walkthrough of that and make sure you kind of understand the different pieces and components.